Well, we're excited to be joined by Christina. How do you pronounce your last name?
Well, if you want to pronounce it my way,
that's what I want to do.
the Catalan way, Gallach.
Gallach.
But it's quite tough, so you do as you can.
I'll make an effort.
Oh, okay.
Cristina Gallach, who is the Under-Secretary General at the United Nations for Communications and Public Information. First of all, terrific presentation at the plenary. Congratulations on that amazing work that you have done. And I want to pick up from that because you talked about the need for the United Nations to communicate to the world in a different way. Let's talk about how the SDG provides a different opportunity for that, being as it is, as you know, a very much more people-oriented set of goals. What have the opportunities been around innovation and new ways of communicating from your perspective to the rest of the world?
I think we couldn't be more fortunate. The SDGs agenda is agenda for the future, agenda for transformation, agenda for the young generations, agenda for leaving no one behind. So with these ingredients, we can and have the essentials to communicate differently. So we have to start by ensuring that the young generations know and buy in the SDGs and go for them. Go for them in all what they do, when they are at the school, when they are at university, when they are at leisure, when they travel, in the manner in which they communicate, which is in particular social media. This is very important. And then also it is very important that we get to those that take decisions. And those that take decisions are very much influenced by the corporate world. Corporate wants to continue making business. And the SDGs are good for business. They are another way to ensure that people progress and at the same time have a good living and it is profitable. So we have to tap in all these different areas. So we couldn't be more fortunate. We have the right agenda to be communicated differently and to reach everybody. But we have to be also very careful. People like local, live local, see the transformations locally, not what happens in New York or at the UN or in Bonn in an international environment. So we have to go local. And we can only go local through the engagement with all the organizations that have the impact closer to the people.
I really like the points about going local because I work a lot with young people around the world, and one of the things that young people have always felt is that the UN only speaks in jargons and that they don't get it. What are you doing differently now with the SDGs to really get to local, to get to young people who are maybe not even on social media, young people who are just living in slums where I am from, where I was born in Sierra Leone, or in the most difficult places of the world who would be most affected by the SDGs?
Well, first of all, translate, use the language of the community. We have now the icons, the SDGs, visuals, and the titles and the basic information in more than 50, 60 languages. And listen, there is a record. The record is set by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the most translated document ever in history. It's translated to more than 500 languages. I bet you our challenge is to reach those 500 languages. And I think we're going to make it because we are building local partnerships through all sorts of organizations, of course the UN entities that operate, but beyond that. So we have to go to the schools. And we have to go to the schools in all the different parts of the world. And we have to leverage the possibility that the transformations will happen on the ground. So to me, the communication through a language that is locally understood is critical. This is part of our work. The other part is, of course, the partnerships.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations and good luck with that particular goal. Let's talk about accountability. Because your role, as you know, in communication is not only one way, right? You don't only want to get to people and tell them about what the SDGs are about, but we also want to talk about how these people will hold the international community to account for the promises that are made. What is the role of the media specifically in ensuring that accountability for the SDGs?
I think it's critical because we need the media to come out on a regular basis and tell those that take decisions whether things are being done and if they are being done properly. And we have a number of administrations to keep accountable. We have the governments at the state level, those that sign the SDGs and agree, the heads of state and government. We have regional powers. In many countries, regional authorities have a number of responsibilities and they have to be held accountable. But for me, the most important is the local authorities, because at the very end, the transformation on whether water and sanitation is improving, the transformation on whether we have good health structures, or the transformation in terms of environment protection. Most of these decisions are based on national laws, but they are implemented locally by the mayors, by the local corporations. So we are engaging with the local municipalities, first of all, in them knowing the potential of using the Sustainable Development Goals as a driving force to implement policies, and then working with them so that they can project the impact. I think no mayor has a better way to continue being re-elected than by implementing the goals. So it's a real win-win. So accountability, media, go local, and then every year we meet at the UN in New York, all the countries, and some of them in a voluntary manner, but in a quite robust manner, so it is not an easy exam. They have to present what they have been doing. You know that the Sustainable Development Agenda is not a treaty. There is no tribunal to judge what is happening. It is a voluntary process, but everybody feels it is so necessary that they want to be in the lead. This coming July in New York, we have 44 countries that are ready to go public and already say in less than 2 years we have done so and so and so. So all these moments are very good for media. So accountability, critical.
Wonderful. Seems like really impressive progress that has been made. But what about the challenges? Are there challenges you're encountering with local and international media around the world? In that discussion in the hall today, just now, there was a lot of talk about mainstream media and the challenges we face today. How do you see a role in trying to deal with that complex and challenging media context right now?
I think the challenges are many. First of all, there is an immense challenge with all the funds, all the financing is going to come to implement the Sustainable Development Agenda. That's why we have to mobilize, in particularly the private sector. There are no governmental funds sufficient for all the investments that needs to be done. But we have a big ally, which is technology. Technology is, advancing at such a speed and in such a way that technology transformations will become our best allies. We have another challenge, is that the world is in a difficult transition from unipolar to multipolar. There is chaos all over. We see conflicts. We see people in desperate situations. We have even declared for parts of Africa in famine. So we have the media quite addicted to projecting what goes wrong, which is totally fair totally fair. We shouldn't blame them for that. But we have the responsibility to share the positive stories, those that will mobilize other people. Because there is a lot of positivity around, and unfortunately, they are a fraction of what we see. So we need to have the right balance. We need the gloomiest stories, those that will enrage and will say, wow, things cannot continue as they
Jack
are.
us all up.
But we also need a positive stream. What are the climate actions that are being taken? How are we helping kids in countries that education is not yet so developed to have better schools? How are we helping women to advance? This right balance is possible because the world is already not scarce of good stories. And this is a little bit our job. The UN organizations, the communications people, to also propulsate what happens, which is positive.
To elevate
Yes.
positive stories.
Absolutely.
Speaking of elevating positive stories, we are at the first Global Festival of Ideas. What are your impressions so far?
Well, I'm very, very excited. First of all, there are around lots of young people. So the first takeoff is the young generations are understanding that unless this agenda is implemented, the future is much gloomier. So thanks for the mobilization of the young. The young people are not the future, they are the present.
Now.
Now, absolutely. Second, I think there is a good combination of public-private. This magical combination that will make things happen. Unless we put them closer together, we are not going to see the progress. So this is also well reflected. I've just met individuals that represent ministries of development and cooperation, but also representatives of the private sector. And this is just the beginning. So ideas are illimited. The sky is illimited. I'm sure at the end of these 3 days, we'll have lots of suggestions that will keep us fully mobilized.
So I have a final question for you.
Yes.
One word to describe all this energy, this melting pot, youth, everything at the Global Festival of Ideas. Just use one word. What's the word that comes to your mind?
Well, I would say, in fact, you said the word, energy.
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 Let's end on that. That's such a positive note. Thank you so much,
Thank
Christina.
you.
It's
My
wonderful
pleasure.
to talk to you. Yeah.
My pleasure.